Donald Trump has sounded, well, almost presidential in recent proclamations, calling for unity in the party and the country. That may have broader appeal in a presidential election than the vengeful election-denying rants we've become accustomed to. But can it last? Which Trump is running for president, the unifier or the divider? Here to hopefully shed some light is one of his biggest supporters, who also got a shout-out in his Iowa victory speech, the Arizona Senate candidate and friend of the show, Kari Lake. Kari, good to see you. How are you?
It's great to be back. Thank you for having me on today, Piers.
Well, you just heard a very good pitch for why Nikki Haley is in a two-horse race now with Donald Trump. And he made a compelling argument, I think, Governor Sununu, that if you look at the path of New Hampshire and South Carolina, you've got to say it favours her over DeSantis. Do you agree with him? This could end up quite quickly as a two-horse race.
You know, I think we're going through some formalities. I think President Trump is already the nominee, and the American people understand that. But it's a little bit of an ego trip for the others and a vanity project. And I guess we just have to wait until they come to grips with reality that President Trump will be the nominee, and he's going to lead us back to our greatest days here in America with a secure border and a great economy, and frankly, world peace, which I think the whole world will benefit from.
Are we going to get the Trump that we heard in his Iowa victory speech, which was far more unifying? He's very complimentary about his rivals. He was very unifying in his language about bringing independents and Democrats together with Republicans, which is what a lot of average Americans, I think, are crying out for, an end to the toxic tribalism and a more unified country. Is that the Donald Trump we may see if he won a second term, do you think?
I think we will see that. And, you know, I didn't hear that from the others that were running in their speeches on Monday night. They were very much still attacking President Trump and his the folks who support him. But President Trump does want to bring this country together. I talk to him quite often. And in his policies, he did bring this country together. You have to remember, when he was president, Pierce, we had an incredible economy. We had the lowest unemployment rate in the entire time I've been alive. And that means unemployment rates were low for Black Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, white Americans. His policies were unifying because they helped improve the lives of all Americans. And we had a secure border. We weren't being overrun with people invading our country, illegally coming into our country and taking away from Americans who are, many of them, homeless on the streets. And we're watching right now as Joe Biden continues to put the needs of people who come here illegally ahead of American citizens. So Trump will put the American people first.
What if he's in prison? I mean, genuine question. He's facing 91 criminal charges. What if he's convicted of one or some of those charges and actually gets put into a prison cell? I mean, it could happen. Under the Constitution, he would still be able to run the country. But would that be a good thing?
We've seen the witch hunts. They've been going on since President Trump had the courage to step into the political arena. There's been one witch hunt after the next, and most of it fueled by the media, sadly. And even if he was sitting in Alcatraz, the people will vote for him because they know that he is going to put America first. And in the last 3 years under Joe Biden, we've watched as America has been put last. We've learned how he's taken payouts and bribes from some of our adversaries, and we are all suffering because of it. And we just want to get policies back that put our country first, strengthen our families, strengthen our border, and strengthen our security, and,
Kari,
and give us
a
decent energy policy.
Here's the problem. I wrote a column yesterday in which I extolled the landslide victory. It was spectacular. It's an amazing comeback story unfurling with Donald Trump. But in the weeds of some of the data were some concerning numbers, like 30% of Republicans, when asked, said that they would not support him if he was convicted of a crime. That's a big number of Republicans. You've got to assume that percentage would go up with independents, who would be crucial to him potentially winning a general election. Are you not concerned about that? I mean, it may well be, as you say, all a liberal witch hunt, or it may not. But if he's actually convicted, it does seem like many Republicans would be deterred and may prefer to then pivot to another candidate.
Well, you're always going to have those Republicans who have Trump derangement syndrome, and I think they will eventually start to come around as we get closer to the election. I've looked at the polls, actually. I've been following them very closely, and President Trump is the only Republican who can win and can beat Biden or whomever they put forth as their candidate. The others can't win. And you've got to have the Trump supporters behind you to get a victory. And the Trump supporters' dedication to President Trump, because they know that he's helped us, they know that he's put us first. His support is a mile deep. These other guys' support is about an inch deep, and it won't last.
If he wants to win a general election, why should any of us accept the result? Why shouldn't we just all pull a Trump and say, no, not having it, never happened. The other guy Biden got stolen, got robbed, and just keep saying that for the entire tenure of Trump's second term? I mean, seriously, why shouldn't Americans just return, not me, but Americans just return the favor?
Yeah. We heard that in 2016. Remember, Hillary was the original election denier. That's the term they use. We've all been called that. And this is one of the reasons, Piers, why I've been pushing and working really hard to bring about election reform. Because frankly, since 2000, we've had elections where one year it'll be the Democrats saying they don't think it was fair. The next time it's the Republicans. We have the ability to make our election so fair that we wake up the next day after the election and everyone can live with the results because they know it was fair. And that's why I continue to push to try to reform our election so that Democrats feel comfortable and believe in the results, independents and Republicans. And I think President Trump wants to
Kari, we've debated this before, but my problem with that is, to any independent eye, they have been fair. Your election, Trump's election, they were fair. And most senior Republicans have accepted this. And to continue bleating about having an election robbed makes it difficult for you to then claim victory, doesn't it, in elections?
Well, I will point out that you brought up the whole topic. So it was your topic that you brought up and asked me about. And I just answered. So I think we're going to work to bring about reform. I mean, I think more and more Americans are realizing that mail-in ballots and having them float around out there for a month and voting for a month and counting votes for 2 weeks is a recipe for fraud to seep into our elections. And I think all we want is really fair elections that everybody feels comfortable with.
We've run out of time, Kari. Very quickly, if he offers you the VP, will you take it? Yes or no?
I'm running for US Senate in Arizona.
Yes or
and
no?
I want to help. I want to help in the US Senate. So if I can be helpful,
I'll take that as a yes.